We want to thank you for joining us today at our Women of Tech panel discussion. We're so excited to have among us a group of dynamic women on our panel today. We see that we have participants throughout Chicago, Illinois, and other states. I also want to acknowledge that many of you have submitted questions, and they're wonderful questions. We plan to actually answer all the questions, but with our limited time, if we don't answer all the questions, please feel free to email me and we will provide you with the answers. I would first like to introduce to you our moderator for today. She's Alicia Harley. Alicia Harley is the founder and the Chief Executive Officer and Prevention Advisory Group. She's a nonprofit advisor, a strategic trainer, and facilitator of leadership and growth. Mrs. Harley has more than 20 years of organizational consulting and public health experience. She owns her leadership approach while actively running her company, serving on nonprofit boards, and being an executive coach. She holds a master's degree in public health from the University of Michigan and a bachelor's degree from Spelman College. Alicia is a great leader with the ability to empower all that she comes in contact with. I present to you today our moderator, Alicia Harley.
Well, thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate that warm introduction. I need you to follow me around a little bit. I feel excited, but I am so excited to engage with all of you here today about women in tech. I'm going to introduce our distinguished panel in just a moment, but I will serve as your moderator today. And my hope is that you'll walk away with a clear understanding of how to thrive as a woman in tech, how to leverage your personal power, a greater understanding of non-traditional tech and non-tech leadership roles, but also new insights around pursuing careers in tech and how to move past imposter syndrome once and for all with new tools for advancement and self-advocacy for your career. So without further ado, let's meet our distinguished panel. And I'm going to start with Dr. Nicole Pinkert. She is the Alice Hamilton Professor of Education and the Social Policy Faculty Director of the Office of Community Education Partnerships at Northwestern University. Dr. Pinkert? Dr. Pinkert? I'm sorry, you're muted, Dr. Pinkert.
Sorry about that. Everyone remember to unmute. Yes, I am a professor at Northwestern. My undergrad is in computer science from Stanford, master's is in computer science, and PhD is in learning science. So I'm really excited to be in this conversation because I think as we think about tech, there's a wide range of jobs that many of us have that have direct implication on the technologies that are in our world. So excited to be in this conversation.
Thanks so much. Now, Erica Burt, Director of Professional and Academic Programs, the Illinois Institute of Technology's College of Computing. Would you please introduce yourself, Erica? You're muted. Erica?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for that introduction. It's interesting being on this side of the panel. Usually I'm trying to get everything organized. I am excited to be here with these awesome women and to share about our experiences as non-tech leaders as well as tech leaders. And so I look forward to getting more into it when you ask the questions.
Great. Kimberly Brown, Senior Program Manager at Microsoft. Will you please introduce yourself?
I will. Good afternoon, everyone. I am super excited to be here. As you mentioned, I am currently a senior program manager at Microsoft. I actually have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and I actually have an MBA from Illinois Institute of Technology. So it's nice to be back at my alma mater speaking today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And April Welch, Associate Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, Director of Esports and the Digital Arts Center, and the Director of the Exelon Summer Institute at Illinois Institute of Technology. Ms. Welch, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Alicia, and thank you for the invitation, Erica. I'm thrilled to be on this panel. Tech education has been my life. I'm so excited about really bringing tech to young folks. I run part of our pre-collegiate program here, and my master's from DePaul is in instructional design for tech education. My bachelor's is from Boston University, and I have a bachelor's in fine arts and graphic design from Loyola University, so I'm a Chicago girl. I'm working on my PhD here at Illinois Tech, and I'm thrilled about two projects. One, our pre-collegiate mentorship program, and two, our Bronzeville Economic Engine, so Opportunity Engine. So I'm really, really excited about introducing tech at early ages and then supporting folks throughout the course of their career.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and last but definitely not least, Armanda Killiam, Senior IT Systems Analyst at Exelon. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had to check to see if it was still afternoon. Thank you all for, thank you, Erica, for the invite to be on this panel. I'm happy to be here today. I'm actually on the other side of the house, which is Constellation now. And so I'm happy to be here again. I consider myself a technologist because I do everything. You know, I have these job titles, but I do everything. So I've been in the industry for over 30 years, and that includes internships in high school. So don't age me yet, but happy to be here. Happy to be able to share anything from my journey and my experience with everyone else. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Okay, so the way things will work today is that I'll pose a question to one of our panelists, and they'll respond hopefully within a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. And then if there are others who'd also like to respond on our panel, we'll give them the opportunity to give them 45 seconds to a minute to add what they'd like to share as well. That'll give us time to get through the 16 plus questions that you, our audience, have submitted during the registration process. So I apologize in advance. And as Yolanda mentioned, we may not be able to get to any questions that you pose in the chat. We'll do our best, but we do have a lot on the agenda today. So without further ado, we're going to start with you, Dr. Pinkard. When did you know that you wanted a career in STEM?
That's an interesting one because I don't think, I would say in high school. I was fortunate to go to a phenomenal high school. We're beginning in the 8th grade. I had computer science courses. But the funny thing is for me, I took those courses because I wanted, the basketball coach was the CS teacher. So it wasn't, I didn't take it because I wanted to do CS. I wanted to be a starting point guard. And I just fell in love with coding. And for me, it never was a question after that, would I do it? But I wouldn't say I knew what it was. And I'll end with this. I remember when I saw, why am I, now I'm aging myself. I'm getting old right now. The Hidden Figures. And I cried because I didn't know at the time that there were women who were doing stuff in computer science. And so I only imagine, had I known it, I would have known that that was going to be a career for me. So yes, in high school, but I didn't, I just stumbled to finding where I was going to be because there really wasn't an image of saying, hey, this is what you want to do. Let's go ahead and go for it.
Fascinating. Okay. Well, we're glad that you chose STEM, but I'm sure you got a pretty good jump shot as well. Would other panelists like to talk about-
All state. No.
Wonderful, wonderful. Are there other panelists that like to share when they knew that they wanted to?
I like to share because my story is a little bit different. So I don't have a CS background like some of the colleagues on the line, and I didn't focus on cybersecurity, but I'm a lifelong educator. So I've been in education for quite a while. I'm only 20, so it's been a long time. But my background started kind of managing staff and faculty in large scale projects. And then I found out that these large scale projects were all about STEM. So building cybersecurity labs and getting Apple iOS boot camps going and, providing non-credit kind of like STEM courses for large populations. Then I realized, okay, I need to have funding to continue to expand. So for me, my introduction came through a desire of wanting all people to have access. So this position of access and equity, especially when it comes to STEM, and for people from marginalized communities and people of color who don't typically have that access, because my background was already very education-based, very DEI leadership, educational leadership, I found myself in these different roles with people saying, can you make this happen for this large group? And I thought, I love this, and this is what I want to do.
Wonderful. Isn't that something when you get to pursue your passion? I love it. Anyone else? April, did you want to respond?
Sure, yeah, I'm thrilled, and similar to Erica, my inspiration was writing these training programs to introduce folks to technology and show that it's not just for the majority, that it is path to prosperity, that it is fun, that it enhances everything that you do. And right now with my esports work, I'm working on finding those transferable skills that are like, there's a, learning Python helps you if you're going to mod out a game. There's a lot of reason, giving people a reason to do something is what you need to do to reach our folks in our community. And I think that's one of the real beauties of technology and of technology in education, is that there are so many different paths and that there's so many different routes to express yourself creatively. So when I actually started because I was left out. I went to the Latin School of Chicago a million years ago. I will tell my age, 84 to 88, I was there. And in 84, I wanted to, there was a computer lab that I wanted to do the class for, and they wouldn't let me do it because there was only a handful of slots and there was only, a handful of hours for computers at that time. So I was like, well, what? I don't get to do that? So that led me to trying to figure out, well, how do I build my own? Because there's kits out here. There's other people who can have built their own. So I sort of, my start came as a reaction to being left out.
Wow, isn't that, that's fascinating. I can't imagine how many people are in that same spot. Thank you for sharing that, April. Armanda?
Yes, I have a similar story. So my journey started when I was about 7th grade. My grandmother bought me a Texas Instrument computer one Christmas. And so I didn't even know she was getting it. Okay. She just showed up with it at Christmas. And I was so infatuated with it till I took the computer, went in my room, started trying to program it, started tinkering on it. And the rest of the family was out enjoying this was on Christmas Day. And I just got so caught up in trying to make this computer work that was just my interest. And I had gotten other gifts, but that didn't matter because I had that computer. So my interest was there, and I just continue to love technology, and I consider myself a problem solver. I consider anybody in the tech field a problem solver. And I like to automate things. I like to see things move. I like to build things. And so that's where it started. I also had a similar situation in high school when they had the first computer class in high school. And it was all these boys. And I went and asked, could I be in the class? And they said no. And I'm like, why not? I'm smarter than all of them put together. Why not? So I know them. Okay. So I fought, I went to the principal, I did all this stuff, and they finally let me into the class. So I've been fighting ever since, actually. So that's my story.
Yeah, no, great. We're going to follow up on that in a little bit. We're going to talk about being a woman in tech and in this gender sparked world. But before we get there, I want to make sure that we get to Kim. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. So like Armanda, I was fortunate enough, my parents bought us a computer, and I taught myself how to program BASIC, and probably it was on from then in terms of me wanting to do technical stuff. And then I also had an aunt who was majoring in electrical engineering, and she went to work at GE Health, and she used to work on all the MRI and X-ray machines. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do when I grow up. She's traveling, she's in Miami, she's living her best life, and that's exactly what I want to do. So those were two of my major influences in getting going the tech route.
Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So why don't we go ahead and piggyback on that question that came up just a few moments ago, and I'll pose it to you first, April. Is how might women that are interested in tech, how might they find gender-specific professional organizations, conferences, or networking events that might support them in their path?
You know, for me, I've always said, you know, don't necessarily isolate. The best organizations are the ones that have the resources that you want and that you need. And I would say, you know, within those bigger organizations, you know, there's a Society for Women in Computing, there's a bunch of societies for women specifically, but I've always pushed it, you know, make those bigger societies recognize who you are and build a path within those larger societies that are fully resourced, that have large endowments, that have travel budgets, that are hosting those conferences. You know, be an influencer on that front and make sure that all those conferences have a panel about women, have a panel about people of color, have a panel about the need to educate folks young. So I would definitely say, you know, look to where the resources are. Again, that's, you know, my business background talking, but look to when there are organizations out there doing what you want to do. Don't be shy, be bold, be confident, reach out, and you never know what you can get. We got 30 computers donated to us this summer for our ACE program. You know, Apple just put a really amazing lab up at Truman College that we get to program for our kids. You know, it doesn't matter that we're at Illinois Tech, the lab's there, so you partner with the people who are there. I would just say, you know, never be afraid to partner, never go at this with a lack mentality, go at it with the, all right, there are resources somewhere, I'm gonna make them, I'm gonna make use of them for the cohort that I'm dealing with and the people that I want to impact.
Yeah, thank you for that. Did you want to comment on that, Erica?
You know, I've had someone I've had a couple of people ask me if I thought that professional organizations that were directly for women, if it kind of fed into this segregation between male and female when it comes into tech, and if I thought it was hurtful or harmful. And I think there's room for both. So I totally agree with everything that April is saying. There's some wonderful organizations out here, even for teachers who are in K through 12 systems who want to kind of hone their skills and network with others. They have their CSTA. I know I have some colleagues from CSTA on the line right now. So you have that. And then you have an organization that I served on the board with called Tech Hive that was completely for women. And I think the difference is sometimes women, if you're directly in tech or if you're non-tech, but you're working in a tech field, you're still trying to figure out your data narrative. You're still trying to figure out how you explain what you do and what your role is, and then how you kind of challenge yourself to be bold. And sometimes you want a comfortable space, not comfortable in lackadaisical, but a safe space to be able to have those conversations in. So whatever works, right? But to April's point, be bold and engaging. And if you find that you need something that's gender specific, great. And if you find that you want something that's co-ed, that's great. But you have to talk to each other. You have to talk to other people. You have to make those connections. You got to search the internet. You got to see who knows what, you know, be friendly and try to engage that way.
Great advice. Absolutely great advice. Okay, Nicole, did you want to comment?
Just briefly, because I actually think what Erica just said, she said what I was going to say, but I will say this. I know we're talking about adults, but if you have kids, I will say for your daughters, when they're younger, make sure that I think it's important to have affinity groups. And I think particularly for that middle school age, going into high school, it's important to have a community that helps you to see that I can do this and I can be, you know, connected to folks like me. But at the same time, expressing the importance that most likely you're going to have to come out of those affinity groups and into classrooms and into spaces where everyone doesn't look like you. So balancing it, but I have found that at least in those middle to high school years, it's important to at least ground yourself in the fact that I'm not going to always be the only one, but understand if you are going to be the only one, that you have superpower capes on and you can do it.
I love that. I love that, especially the visual of the superpower capes. All right. So Armanda, I wanted to ask you, how do you retool and refresh your technical skills, given the fast pace of technology advancement? How do you manage that?
Okay, so I do a number of things, probably too many things. So I'm in different professional user groups. Some are women, some are women and men, some are African American. So I'm in a million professional groups. I continue to read. I have subscriptions to all of the online tooling, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Udemy. And I have to stay relevant. So and also I keep myself centered around, now no one get offended, but I keep myself centered around nerds. Now, some people, my family say I'm a nerd, but I like nerds, okay? And nerds have helped me get through school. Nerds have helped me build my career. So I'm always, in those circles. At one point in my career, for a long time, I tried to always be the youngest person or the least experienced person in the room because I could grow from other people. But as you all can probably see, when my video is not acting up, the gray hairs, so I'm not always the youngest person anymore. But between the studying, going to conferences, user groups, my technical network of people, I stay current. And it's important in this field to stay current. You can get displaced quickly. So I also have to balance, okay, everything that comes out is not going to have a long life cycle. So I have to keep abreast of what's going on in the market, what are the business needs for whatever industry I'm trying to get in, and what technologies are probably going to solve those problems. And then try to, keep abreast of those technologies. It's a lot, but I that's how I try to juggle it.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. Erica, did you want to comment?
Yes, thank you. So in addition, I see all of the wonderful certificate programs, et cetera, information that people are putting in the chat. So thank you for that. I also want to let you all know that the College of Computing, we have certificate programs. And if you are interested in higher education, we have degree programs and joint programs with other universities as well. So we're all about continuing learning. So after this, if you are interested in learning more, please contact us. Shameless plug.
No, but it was good. It was good. You know what? Actually, go ahead, Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, I too am constantly learning and have to keep up with my skills. I work at Microsoft. I actually work in the healthcare business unit. So not only do I have to keep up with the latest technology, but I've also got to keep up with what's relevant in healthcare as it pertains to technology. So I always suggest people, there's lots of free learning. Every morning I have like 5, blogs that arrive in my mailbox so I can see what the headlines are. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of listening to podcasts. I actually lately have also been doing a lot of LinkedIn, just looking at what people are posting and actually going to the links, not just like, oh, that looks like a good link. Actually going to the links and reading. I think when you're in tech, there's never an end point in your learning. Literally every day, you've got to get up and you've got to see what's hot on the street and make sure that you can at least hold a conversation about it, even if you don't know all the details that go with it.
Yeah, no, solid. Okay, April?
Just quickly, I wanted to add that this is the day to improve the way you learn as well. And there are resources like Atomic Habits is a fantastic book, James Clear, to help you be impactful in your study and be efficient in your study. There are books like Jim Quick's Limitless that teach you how to read faster with more retention and just, hone your skill as a person. I find as I get older, my attention span is going like a Disney movie sometimes. I'm a squirrel, and it's just, it makes sense to build your instrument into a fine-tuned machine, as it were.
No, that's great. And some great books that you mentioned. Do you mind dropping those in the chat in case people didn't catch them?
I'm happy to. Thank you. I put a few more links in there as well.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. Well, Erica, I wanted to ask you, how have you, or how would you advise, either one, how have you or how would you advise someone to highlight their skills when they're looking for a job or they're interviewing in tech?
So I think, it depends on what the job opportunity is. So from my perspective, if someone is interested in a leadership position where they are managing people and projects and budgets and building and creating kind of tech-based programs, I think that you want to make sure your past kind of aligns with the position that you're interested in, but do not think that you need to have 100% matching items for everything on there. There are plenty of people who have a good 60 to 70 and they still go after those jobs, because a lot of things you can learn as you're doing, right? And as the colleagues just said, you can hone your skills. So one way I would think is to kind of highlight the major ways that you've already kind of led some of those efforts. How have you managed large scale technology projects, or how have you managed, building out mainframes, or what work have you done? Even if it's volunteer, if it's board of director positions, if it's for pay positions, if it's, you're working as a private consultant, you have to be able to highlight those skills, but also be confident and know this: when you're being interviewed, you are also interviewing that company. And so, a win is a win. So if you do not get that position, you'll get a better one. But you need to know if this is the space that you want to be in, and if you have the capacity to build and create, will that place that you are interviewing for allow you to do those things? So just as you're trying to highlight your skills and make sure that you show your best self, you want to also discern to see if that's a good match for you as well. But I think other colleagues can probably speak more so to highlighting the technical skills.
Just to add a little bit there, I think oftentimes in some of the positions and jobs that we're seeking for now, there's an assumption, I think, as women that there's all kinds of people who already have these skill sets, but oftentimes these are new positions, new areas. And what I found, what I've told young people, one is to say how you're going to learn. So here's what I know right now. Here's my plan for doing this. I've definitely seen this in the data science area, where I know when someone comes in and tells me they've done all this social network analysis and all that stuff, it's not true, particularly when they're young. So when someone can come in and be clear about what they know and have a plan of how they're going to learn and get there, then I'm actually more open to bringing someone like that on, because I know we're in spaces where all the knowledge isn't here yet, and you need to have the ability and the openness to go out and learn. So I think for us as women, it's sitting in there and being okay with saying I don't know everything now. And I found that with oftentimes men, it's okay to even say that, or it's oftentimes not that awareness. So just being open to sharing your path of growth, I think, can open up opportunities for you.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else on the panel want to comment? If not, hang around, Nicole, because the next question is for you. So, Nicole, have you ever suffered from imposter syndrome? And if you have, how did you overcome it?
It's funny you just said that. This week, I just had my investiture. I can't even say the term right, when I became a named chair. And so as a professor, I've always had an imposter syndrome. I've never won, as I opened up and saying, I didn't know what it meant to be a woman in computer science. It's like, who is that model that I'm trying to pattern myself after? So every action is an action of, okay, is this the right thing, the wrong thing, or I want to be in a space. I'm 52, so of the age where CS was something people did, but wasn't so much a, a career. You didn't have your Mark Zuckerbergs and everyone saying, I want to be like him. So I've dealt with it, and but what helped me is having mentors of color in education. I'm a professor, so I was fortunate, Carol Lee, Luis Gomez, some phenomenal mentors in other areas, and I was able to role model myself after them. But I also would say that I've had to be, I've always said that I believe I can always get another job. And so what I've said to myself is that I'm going to do what I feel I need to follow my passion and what I want to do. But I trust myself that if I take a turn, and that turn is the wrong turn, that I have the ability to get back and get another game. But I still have imposter syndrome. And and what I've now do is I'm very clear about it, and I talk to young people about it, because I've also realized that people look up to me, and they don't, when I say I have that, they go like, how could that be? And I think that's helpful when they hear it. And so one thing I always say this, before I go into a big presentation, I look in the mirror and actually have a chant that I say. It has some couple of words, and I probably shouldn't say here, but I have to say it to make me go into that room and feel like I am just as worthy of everyone else in there. Don't have to say it as much now as I used to, but I would say that's been my own individual journey and trying to deal with it.
Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable on that, Kim.
So I would say I had that a lot more when I was younger, especially working in healthcare and IT. I was always the only one. I was always, I had the credentials, but when I walked in the room, everybody's looking at me like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? You know what you know, and you're trying to explain it, and you could look at people and tell them they're still trying to figure out, how did you get here? And who let you in the door? I would say now that at this point in my career, I don't have it as much. I mean, my resume and my credentials speak for themselves at this point, and you can accept them or reject them. That's on you, it's not on me. And because it's very exhausting, not only having to do the work, but having to prove that you belong to be there. And at this point, my attitude is I deserve to be here, and I deserve to be a lot of other places, not because I'm special per se, but because I've done the work and I have the background. And so I just think the more you're in the tech space, and especially if you're in spaces that, and I consider healthcare tech to be a little bit specialized, it's definitely not a lot of us. You have to develop thick skin. And at some point, you're going to realize that it doesn't have anything to do with you, whether people accept you or not, that's on them.
No, really, really good point, right? You got the credentials, you've been prepared for the job. Erica, a little earlier, you were talking about, when people are applying for positions and preparing for interviews, that oftentimes we feel as if we need to have 100% of all of the criteria in order to apply. Do you want to talk a little bit more in this context of imposter syndrome?
I think, and back to that point, I read an article, I don't know the name of it, but it basically said that men they'll apply for mostly anything, qualified or unqualified, they're going to shoot their shot. And so we as women, we may as well go for it too, right? But I think as far as imposter syndrome, I think it's normal. So if there's anybody who is feeling that, I don't think that you should beat yourself up. I think also when there's a new situation that you're walking into, you're going to have some angst. You're going to have some, how do these systems work? Whether it's, a CS program or a mainframe or some type of cybersecurity, and you're trying to figure out if you're doing things right, or just being in a new culture, in a new situation, period. Who are the power players, right? You're still trying to figure out how you fit into this grand scheme of thing. And then you're trying to figure out at the same time, how to use political savvy. So all of those things come with the territory. And so being, having this sense of being an imposter, know that it comes with the territory, but know that it's also okay. So sometimes you just have to kind of live through it. And then as it fades, you continue to move forward. But one thing you can do is when you meet other people after you have built that confidence within yourself and you see other people struggling with the same thing, you know, kind of pay it forward, help them to be assured of who they are in themselves. The other thing I will say about imposter syndrome, I think Kim said this, and I believe Nicole said this, confidence. Know that you know what you know and they're talking to you for a reason. And if they don't want you, somebody else does. It's almost like a relationship. If this doesn't work out, I'm gonna go ahead with my life and I'm gonna continue to live. With every goal that you've had in your life, 9 times out of 10, you've accomplished those goals. So this is yet another step. And so I think that kind of helps. Right now, I'm like April, I'm a PhD candidate. And so each step along the way, you have a team of people saying, all right, do this, do that, you can do this. And you're still trying to figure out, do I even know what I'm talking about right now? You know, and who can I talk to? So sometimes with that imposter syndrome, you can talk to other people. How did you overcome it? Who did you connect with? Can you mentor me? Are you able to sponsor me? There's a big difference between mentoring and somebody sharing tidbits of wisdom and sponsoring and saying, let me take you under my wing and provide opportunity for you. See if you can connect with people that way. That's all.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you. All right, so Kim, this question is for you. When you've either changed jobs or worked with clients, what did you do to assess whether or not the organization had a real commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Do you have any advice for people on that?
I do. So my first thing is when I am hired and I look around, do I see people who look like me? And so if I don't, then I know they may be saying it, but they may not actually be doing it. And to be fair, again, the space that I'm in that not only have I worked in healthcare, but I also have technical background, it is harder to find people who have those types of experience. So have to be fair on that. But in general, you know, now I look around, I see who's in the company. I look at LinkedIn a lot and I see who's posting about who's getting promoted. I look at who does the company have speaking for them and things like that. And to me, that tells the story about what the commitment to DE&I is. It's not what people say, it's what you see. And so I'm always looking for what do I see, not what are they saying that they're doing.
I love that. I was about to emphasize that in the chat. It is not what they say, it's what you see. Yeah. Did you want to comment, April?
Oh, sure. That part is really dear to my heart. I see Tracy's in here. We just worked on a proposal, and one of the things that you know, they said a lot and about diversity and inclusion and making sure this is about us at first. And then as we finished the work, one of the things we noticed was that, well, we never got to see the budget, and the budget tells you what they really care about. We never got to see the end result, and the end result tells you what people really care about. Even well-meaning people go in with a mission to help, but at the end of the day, the help only materializes if you've got the budget behind it, if you've got people behind it, if you've got leadership behind it. So when you look at our faculty here, and again, hopefully I don't get thrown out for saying this, but there are not many people who look like Nicole in our chairs and in our people who've been invested in our tenured faculty. And I know we've been talking about fixing that for at least the 20 years that I've been associated with this place. But, we don't have a multicultural center. Notre Dame has 5 of them. DePaul has 7 of them. So when you look at where people invest their money, and again, we have different challenges than both of those schools. They both have huge endowments. They both have supporters that are really, active. But when you look at where people put their investment, that tells you what they truly care about. So as you are shopping for new places to work, as you're shopping for new places to invest your life, because we invest our lives when we choose our employers. This is 8 hours a day, this is weekends, this is nights for many of us. And you want to make sure that your voice is heard on that front for change and for inclusion, and not just the lip service of inclusion, but actually showing the results of having people in these roles and then what they can do to increase the overall numbers, to increase the feel, to increase the way people are connecting to each other. Not that you can only connect to those who look like you, but you need that variety of folks around you to support individual communities.
Mhm.
So I'll stop there before I get tossed out on my ear.
No, you're good. This is really, really good. This is really good information. And it's, you know, it's about the honesty and transparency, right? Because, you know, even the best have to improve in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so, but the next question is actually for you, April. So as someone who pursued fine arts earlier on in your career, how have you succeeded in tech, and how might others do the same?
Oh, I love that question. So now it's just a fantastic time for the intersection of art and technology. And there are wonderful resources today, like Unity. We have Unity training. We have training for Unreal Engine for our 3D artists. One of my first projects was, and I see Scott in here, one of my first projects was building a prototype for the Innovation Center, where we taught people about being 3D artists and using technology to impact and improve your art, and really creating the whole new virtual worlds that are coming. That I consider art, and that there's just a whole new realm of amazing projects coming. Also connected to esports and game design and media, like experiential media. We just have a brand new degree for game design and experiential media launched just now. I'll pop that link in the chat if you don't mind. But I think that fine arts is a fantastic way to explore your own inner journey and figure out who you are, and then express that in a way that you can connect with other people. And there's a bravery to fine arts. You know, everyone said, April, what's wrong with you? You're never gonna make a penny if you study fine arts. But I found that it was one of the most rewarding things that I ever did. And I use it all, all the time, the things that I learned through those classes. They're more rigorous than one would assume, but it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
great. Did anybody else want to comment on that one?
No, I would just say that the intersection of arts and technology, and really intrigued to see what it's going to mean for women. Intersection was at the was at DePaul in the College of Computing, and we had an animation in the School of Design, and watching the patterns of registration. Once the School of Design was there, you could see women coming in and approaching the CS, but through the design, and feeling more comfortable. So I think that's actually worth an area focus. It's a path in, but we also need to make sure that it doesn't become a block as well, that you can come in that direction, stay in that area, but also keep going through the doors and continue to do some of the techier aspects of things as well.
Great points. All right. Gosh, this is such a good discussion. I hate to move on to the next question, but Erica, this one is for you. According to research, women currently hold only 26.7% of tech-related jobs. And large tech companies have women's representation around 25 to 26%, according to Deloitte. Why do you think this is the case, and what can be done about it?
Right. I think that goes back to the DEI and probably anti-racism items that are happening within tech. I mean, we see it everywhere. So I know there's this big push to, diversify and get some people of color, but diversity is not just people of color who have the same type of temperament and culture as you. It means real diversity. So when it comes to women, you think about, I know that Nicole was talking about the intersection within the technology field as far as, fine arts, but think about the intersectionality of being Black, being a woman, and what other identities you have, as well as being in a tech world, right? And so we're not necessarily the popular group. Nobody is busting down the doors of hundreds of Black women or women, period, trying to beg us to take jobs. It's the nature of the beast to a degree, but it also puts a responsibility on women, period, to kind of use their voice and to advocate for those increases in numbers, because as things are out of balance and pay is off kilter, or you're the only woman and you walk into the room and you have to make sure that you say things 3 times so that somebody respects what you're saying or they even listen to what you're saying. I think that because of how STEM is and because of how tech is, and perhaps because still how this country is, this is the current reality. And it does present with it several challenges that we have to navigate for that. It doesn't shock me, right? That statistic is not shocking. It's probably actually increased substantially from what it was. But with that being the reality, that means that there's work that we need to do. And also, if there are male counterparts who want to serve as allies in that they want to join in this work into making sure that everybody is treated fairly, equitably, and that we have the same access as everyone else. But I think it's a continual fight, to be honest with you. I personally have those experiences and have had them in the past where I have to make sure that for this project to be done, for the funding to come for this, I need to manage relationships and work horizontally. So while I'm working with a team of men and they don't report to me, the work still has to come to me and I have to make sure that it gets done. So being able to have someone, being able to speak to that in a way that shows the authority that I have by virtue of that position is important. So with that 26%, I would be interested to see how much of that is a leadership capability too, right? So we want the positions, we want the jobs. We also want positions where our voices can be powerful and we can, make change. But I do think it's the nature of the beast, and I think we have work to do.
Oops, point taken. Did anybody else want to comment on that? Well, let me ask you, Armanda, where are you finding inspiration as a woman in STEM these days? Are there certain podcasts that you're listening to, or books that you're reading, or where are you getting your inspiration as a woman in STEM?
As Erica can tell you, I pray a lot. I believe in the power of prayer. I read a lot of self-help books. I'm reading stuff like stuff on emotional intelligence. And also, I think as Nicole said, I didn't know there was a term to imposter syndrome, but I am also finding inspiration from myself, just being confident in who I am, being happy with Armanda, regardless of what somebody else says or don't say, feeling good that I'm putting my best foot forward. And so a lot of my encouragement nowadays is coming from me and validating myself. And just, self-care. I'm more into self-care. This year, self-care was a goal of mine because I realized it wasn't a goal of mine, and just taking care of Armanda. So I'm doing more now to work on me and getting inspiration from me these days.
Thank you. Kim?
So my inspiration is a little different these days. One of the things that I realized later in my career is that no matter where you're at, you have to figure out what your voice is at that company. You have to figure out what your voice is in the industry. And you have to figure out what your voice is in tech. And so I would say sometime last year, I figured out what that was for me. And I also decided that I was not going to wait for people to make room for me at the table anymore. I was going to get with some other people and we were going to make our own table and invite other people to join us at our table. And so that's where my inspiration comes now. I've actually have a group of women, everybody's in healthcare and or tech. And so we are inspiring each other. We're whispering each other's names in the back room when there's opportunities to be involved in different things. We're bringing each other's names forward so that we're not waiting for someone else to recognize all the good things that we do. We decided we're going to recognize each other. And honestly, once we started doing that, there's just been so many amazing things happening for everyone that I never would have thought would have been possible. But it just took that shift in mindset to say, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to see all the good things I'm doing. I'm going to go make some of these good things happen for myself and others.
Love it, love it, love it. Absolutely. Okay, I know we're getting close on our final time here. Yolanda, can I ask one more question? Where did Yolanda go?
Yes.
Okay, we'll ask. Okay, all right, great. We'll ask one more question and then we'll wrap up so that everybody can get back to where they're going on time. So Nicole, this one is for you. What advice would you give young women who are considering entering the tech and the STEM field? And give me, sort of 30 seconds. And I actually will ask all of you to answer this one. What advice would you give women entering the field?
I would say one is know your why. So hopefully it's not just because it's a STEM field, but there's a passion around why you're going into STEM. Find one or two people one person you can look up to and sort of understand their path and try to maneuver it. Find one or two study buddies or partners who you can cry with, and who you can work through some stuff with. And then what I've always said to people, find the one superpower. You're not going to learn it all, but find the one thing that you're going to make your superpower, and that you're going to truly dive in. But I will say the main thing is it shouldn't, for me, it's not STEM for the sake of STEM. There's something that I want to do, and I'm going to have to learn this STEM, this topic to get through it. And I find folks who come at it that way are more are willing to dig in more, and also I think are willing to when you get to the end, it's more rewarding because it's for a purpose as opposed to just do it because everyone says we should be doing STEM.
Thank you, April.
Yeah, I would thank you again for great moderation. And I would definitely, my recommendation is to let people know that it is all STEM at the end of the day. Today, there's not a single industry that you can go into that would not be better if you had an understanding of STEMs. And I think that there's no avoiding it, and that we need to quit doing a disservice to our young girls when they're in 4th and 5th grade and saying, oh, it's okay if you don't take the math. We need to hold the line. We need to change our policies at CPS levels that, only 19% of students graduating from CPS have the math for IIT. So I think we need to absolutely change the narrative from a very young age, and then encourage people to say, go for it. There's nothing that, because right now the message is, you got to look like Mark Zuckerberg to be a millionaire in this space, but it is so not true. And I'm hoping, with the work in education, that's what drives me, is all of the stories I hear from people from over the years saying, my life took a whole different trajectory because of that 1 2-week camp I did. So yeah, I would just say, give people space to believe in themselves, support them, let them fail. That's the glory of STEM. You fail, you get up, you do it again. And it's not religion where you just, you're given the doctrine of the start and you run with it. This is a iterative process. And I think in embracing that ability to fail and that ability to get up and try again is something that we just, that's why I love esports, that teaches that. And that's why I think, using things that kids love to teach topics and subjects that they're going to need to succeed and that are transferable to their life and their confidence and their next level. I think that's what this is all about.
Yes, agreed. 1,000 times agreed. Okay, Erica, do you want to comment?
I think 3 things. I would say be confident, be clear, and be curious. Be confident to know that whatever your gifts are, they matter, they're important, and they're valuable wherever you are, wherever you're trying to go. So just that confidence of knowing that I can do this, and if I don't know something, I can learn it, and I'm okay to ask people for help. I think be clear on where you want to go, and as that changes, just kind of ride the wave, right? Because I don't believe that you have to be typecast or set into one role for the rest of your life, 50 years. Let it change. flow with it, hone your skills and keep moving. That's what life is about in the first place. And so your job is no different. Your job is not your life. Your career is not your life. It's a part of it. So just be able to ride whatever wave comes in a healthy way. And then the third thing was be curious. It's good to be curious, right? To want to learn more, to, want to know how something works, want to find out how this thing ticks, because when you are curious about things, you find that you can become more passionate about it. And as you're passionate, then you're more comfortable riding the waves and kind of moving forward. And I believe that that's how my tech journey has been going. And I'm just here for the ride. And as long as you can do the same things and you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And if a role doesn't exist for you, create it. And then there you have it.
Right. Love it. Love, love, love it. All right, Armanda.
Okay, things that I tell young women or young people in general about going to tech. So always know that you're good enough. Always know that you're good enough. To understand that you are a problem solver. Okay, people hire problem solvers when they hire technical people. Understand that you're a servant. So it's just not good enough to create this beautiful thing with all these bells and whistles and no one can use it. No one understands it. It doesn't do anything for anybody. So understand that you're doing something to serve, to make someone else's job easier or to make money that's the bottom line, is to make money for the company. So understand that and not just go in to build your own ego, and to always keep learning. Always keep learning. You can't learn everything about because there's so many technologies, but I think as someone else was saying, whatever you're zoning into, continue to learn all you can about that. And then sometimes people ask me, well, what technologies should I go into? So if a younger person going into technology now, I would tell them, okay, learn some things about cloud. Make sure you understand cloud technologies. Make sure you understand cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is part of every discipline of IT, whether you're in applications, hardware, cloud, no matter what you're doing, security is a big deal now. So you can never go wrong in understanding and having a mindset about security. I tell people to understand some things about artificial intelligence and understand some things, the general, at least the fundamentals about data analysis, data analytics, because at the end of the day, you are processing data to get information. I always tell people you're processing data to get information to make this strategic decisions.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Kim, can you give us 30 seconds?
I can. I would say, first of all, it's hard. Okay, so never lose sight of that. It is hard. It is hard to get through STEM classes, majors, what have you. The other thing is, just because you major in STEM, computer science, engineering, whatever you want to, whatever the flavor is, you don't have to stay in that career forever. I have an engineering degree. I don't do anything really now that looks like engineering, and that's okay. You have options. Majoring in STEM, in my opinion, gives you options to do other things in your career as you continue to grow, learn, and figure out the things that you do. So my advice would be, remember, it's hard. Don't think that it's the end game. You can always do something else. And just know it really is the gateway to do a lot of other different things.
Thank you so much. That is our time for today. So Yolanda, I thank you so much for letting me moderate. I'm going to turn the microphone back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for participating in our Women in Tech panel discussion. I want to personally thank our panelists and our moderator. Please complete the post-panel survey in the link, and I will also be emailing everyone the post-panel link. Our dynamic panelists spoke how to retool, refresh, elevate. You come to Illinois Tech, get interested in Illinois Tech. We got scholarships, many certificate programs, and other graduate programs we'll be willing to provide you with all that information. Please again, complete the post event survey. Thank you. We enjoy our panel discussion. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much.